This is Mile High.
We have to do it better in order to move people along.
Up, down, inside out.
If you get your mind right,
it is not. It is a receiver of thought.
because love is my first technique.
It's now time for the show.
Hi, everybody. Dr. Cathy, and we are back having the conversations that matter to you about what it's going to take for more women to step up, find their voice, and start leading. So joining us today to participate in the conversation is Dr. Danny Knowles from Mile High. Hey, Dr. Danny.
Hey there. How are you doing, Cathy? I am so glad to speak to you. I always enjoy getting to connect with you.
Well, thank you. I enjoy speaking with you, and I'm a big supporter of what you're doing because you have been a big supporter of not only the League of Chiropractic Women, but of women stepping up and finding their voices since the very beginning. So first and foremost, I want to commend you for not only what you do through Mile High, but for coming on and participating in this conversation, because it is a big conversation and it's important to a lot of people in our profession right now.
Well, I think it should be important to a lot of people in our profession right now. As you know, I serve on this board of Sherman College of Chiropractic, and just realizing there, the last numbers I saw, and this was a few months ago, it may have even tilted more, the enrollment of Sherman, the female enrollment was 49% of the enrollment. It may have tipped past 50%, I don't know, but even seeing those kinds of numbers for one institution really should send a huge signal to people across the profession.
And I agree with you totally, because the numbers that we're seeing at some of the other universities are 50, 51%, 49%. And it's time that women start to see and learn from people that speak and teach the way that they want to learn from, right? Because I can tell you, going through school, I can remember going to assembly, and I don't think I ever saw a woman speaker at assembly, but it didn't dawn on me back then. And I can remember going to seminars and not really seeing any women speakers, and it didn't dawn on me back then either. And
Right.
until we started paying attention to the fact that women practice in different ways, and women speak in different ways, and women lead their businesses and lead in their community and deal with their family and communicate with their patients in different ways, yet we didn't have role models for the women, then all of a sudden we have to start looking at it and saying, how much more successful would our profession be? How much more successful would the women practitioners in our profession be if they had that female influence, if they saw other models, right? And I think that you're doing a great job through Mile High, because one of the things that I always compliment you on is, back in the beginning when LCW first started, I remember reaching out to you. I didn't know you back then. And I remember reaching out to you and saying, hey, Danny, we've got a lot of women that are coming up and starting to speak. I know you put on a great program. I'd love to make some suggestions for you. And you jumped right on it, and you were so supportive from the very beginning.
Well, you know, a lot of people don't realize this. My mom's a chiropractor. So I'm a second generation chiropractor, and a lot of people don't know that. My mom and my stepdad and my wife is a chiropractor. So I grew up in a single parent home with my mom as a chiropractor. So I always saw women as leaders in chiropractic because my mom was. So I never thought that would not be the case. I do remember going to Sherman College. I was in chiropractic, school, the similar time frame to you, which we won't talk about. But
Back in the last century.
Right, exactly. So I was in chiropractic school, similar time frame to you, and I remember the dominance of the student body was male, and there was very few female attendees, and thankfully that is shifting. And it was the same was the case when my mom was in chiropractic school. I remember going as a kid, visiting her on campus and it being a male-dominated profession. That's not the case anymore, thankfully, and it's such a great career path for women, and we need more women chiropractors.
And the important thing to understand is that we don't just need to have women in leadership positions just for the sake of women. I think that women in some leadership positions helps to bring a more rounded perspective to chiropractic, and it helps to bring a more balanced discussion, and it also
absolutely.
helps to share messages in the community that patients and the community members can pick up on.
Absolutely. At our last event that we just had, which was It was the best one we've ever done. I couldn't be happier with the way the speakers delivered. They just brought incredible content. It's one of the things we focus on is that people really walk away with something they can use on Monday morning. One of the things that one of the speakers, Jessica Harden, who I really appreciate, she does an incredible job, that she said that was that, you get this voice of chiropractor, a woman being a chiropractor is harder or something like that. People have that, it's so difficult if you're a woman. And she said something really wonderful, which she said, it's not harder, it's not difficult, it's just different. And that's really echoes what you said in another arena. Women bring a different voice, a different tone, and people love that about our event because they're like, the vibe of this is completely different. I'm like, yeah, because between 40 and 50% of the speakers are female, and they share a different message and a different heart and tone, and that a strong feminine presence is very powerful and can be incredibly impactful. And I love getting to see that. And it's one of the things I heard over and over again from this event was, especially this last one, people were like, it is so great to see so many wonderful women leaders speaking from the stage. I mean, I heard it over and over again, at lunch and in the bar and stuff like that. So I'm really grateful that to have that as something that really should happen throughout the chiropractic profession. It shouldn't be something that you see rarely. It should be the norm.
I'm already giving you thumbs up because I know I'm loving the direction this conversation is going. But I'm going to ask you one of the tough questions, because we have these conversations behind closed doors, and women are having these conversations in private Facebook groups, and they're starting to come out on social media that, why don't we see as many women in leadership positions? Why don't we see as many women on state boards and state associations and on school boards? Why are we not seeing as many women on some of the platforms? Now, obviously not on Mile High, because you've always had such a balanced platform. But the feedback that women are getting, and the feedback that women are very concerned with, is that notion that women can't bring it. And I want to ask you, first and foremost, how do you feel about that saying? And if you could define what bring it means from your perspective.
Well, it's BS. It's total bull. It has no validity. Women can bring it just as much as men can, if not in many cases more. It's like that old thing that I heard when I was a kid in the 70s, that men are stronger than women and that kind of thing. Well, there are some incredibly strong, powerful women, and there's some incredibly strong, powerful men, and there's vice versa in both genders. So that's to say that women can't is absurd. I have women at our program that bring it stronger than the men. And what does that bring it mean, right? Does it mean it's a testosterone-filled rah-rah fest that you're going to shout? Is that bringing it? I don't want a man on stage to necessarily come out with a very... We definitely have masculinity and femininity, right? And we should celebrate both. We should celebrate masculinity and celebrate femininity. And there's definitely, I don't want a person that's on stage as a man speaker to be any less masculine. I want them to be their true expression of themselves. And same thing with a woman speaker. I don't want her to try to become masculine. I want her to be a full feminine expression when she's speaking, or presenting herself and not even talk about speaking, just like being in the world when you're in practice. You can be in your full feminine power and not have to water that down or try to be a man when you're in practice or when you're on stage or when you're in a boardroom. And I think some of that does happen. You have... Well, my wife is a chiropractor, right? As you know, she serves on a state board. She did serve on a state board. She serves on the IFC board. But there was a period in our life where we didn't do any of that stuff because we had little kids, and so it wasn't part of my life. It wasn't part of her life. We had different priorities. As time goes, you can have different avenues or venues. She was able to step up because we support each other to do those kinds of things. I always say to people that, hey, I'm only the second best chiropractor in Boulder, Colorado. She's the first. So, we always see each other on a level playing field in terms of these things. And I don't know why people have to think that, a woman speaker is just going to be not as good. They're just going to have a very different tone and voice, which is a welcome, refreshing, wonderful thing to have.
I love that you said that, because the conversations that go on with the women's group is sometimes the women feel like in order for them to get a spot, they have to have that very masculine energy about them. And the reality is, a lot of women don't have that or don't want to have that. A lot of women have a very feminine energy when they work, when they speak, when they lead in their communities. And here's the thing, if the audience is mixed with men and women, you're going to have people in that audience who like that very soft feminine voice, and there's
Right.
going to be people that like that strong masculine voice, and there's people that love everything in the middle. So for women to be able to express themselves however they choose to express themselves, and for men as well, to own your own identity, own
Right.
yourself, and own your own voice, I think that's the key that's going to make all of us, all of our speakers, all of our leaders, and all of us out in practice, I think that's the key to make us successful.
Right. And to say like, oh, they're not going to do a good job, they being women, it's silly. It's ridiculous. And it's like, get out of the Stone Age here. Why would you ever think that? I mean, when you go outside of the chiropractic world, I've heard tremendous, female speakers in so many different venues. I've never considered the quality of the presentation is that it's male or female, or I'm not, oh, this one's the male speaker and this one's the female speaker, I'm going to go to that one. I would never think that. So why would people continue that stereotype in chiropractic?
I love it. It's so true. So now I'm going to dig into the actual planning that goes on behind the event. So we're talking about Mile High, and you're getting together with your team and deciding, when and where, which, by the way, that's a lot of work that goes into it. Just locking down that hotel or the event center and picking a date that doesn't conflict with everything else. That is a big enough process. I don't think most people realize. But then picking the speakers, they have no idea. They think that you're just raking in the big bucks, and you put on a party once a year and there's no planning that goes on, right?
If I had any idea, I probably wouldn't have done it.
Right. I've heard women say the same thing about getting pregnant. So
right.
Yeah.
And I've heard people say the same thing about practice. Like, if I knew how much it was going to be to open a practice, I probably wouldn't have gone to chiropractic school, right? I'm glad I didn't know, because it would have, yeah. But go on.
Ignorance is bliss sometimes, right?
Right.
But so you do all the work of picking a date, picking a location, getting the hotel and the venue secured, setting up your AV team. Now you have to start thinking about who are the people that are going to deliver the message that matters to the audience that is really your target that you're trying to bring in. So take us through a little bit of the process of how do you actually go about selecting the speakers that will be on the stage for your events?
Well, I'm really glad you asked. And I actually go a specific process, and it takes me a while to do that, as well as set up the schedule of who's speaking when. There's like a whole art to that you really have to pre-think. And I've done it poorly in the past, and I've gotten better at over the years. I think I'm going to continue to get better at it. But the first thing that I do is, we always support some nonprofit in the profession. So there's going to be some organization that we want to help highlight that's a vitalistic, subluxation-centered oriented organization. So that's the first thing we do. Because once I decide that might influence the speakers that we choose, because we want to pick people that are connected with that organization. Like one year we had the IFCO, so we wanted more IFCO highlighted speakers. This year we did the Foundation for Vertebral Subluxation Research, and we actually, through not just me, but the audience, we raised upwards of $55,000 for subluxation research during the course of the program, which was amazing, and it was more, we didn't expect that going in. It was $5,000 more than our goal. So that we set like a week before. So that was
That's awesome.
But because of that, it changed who we were going to have present, because there's CE programs. So that's the first thing, is what organization. So if like we did the ICPA, you're going to have a different flavor to who you're going to have present, because you want to link that, have that kind of theme go through. The second thing is that we do 8 hours of continuing education. So right off the bat, I pick the CE speakers first, because those are our time slots. And the first thing I do is, okay, we've got 8 one-hour continuing education slots. 4 of them are going to be men and 4 of them are going to be women. And so, and I just split those down the middle. And that's from that, then I, can go from there for all the other time slots, because we have 25-minute slots and 15-minute slots. And then I just kind of add one male, female, till I get through the whole thing. And usually then we fall somewhere, 50-50, 60-40, something like that. But the first thing is the CE slots, and splitting those. Every time I split them 4 and 4.
And the fact that you put so much effort into it, and I know a lot of the event organizers that I talk to do the same thing. They put that effort into it to make sure it's the right message. Are you thinking about not only the program that you want to deliver, but the attendees that have been there and are coming back and making sure that you're meeting their needs?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a saying that I've adopted recently, so I want to share this with you. I spoke about it at the program this past one, which is souls on board. Okay? So the airline uses the term souls on board. We know that. Like, and you hear that, and you fly a lot, so right? And they say we have, 150 souls on board, and they really say it in an emergency situation, right? Then, when you hear those reports and see the air traffic control thing, then okay, that's an emergency. Personally, I think in a chiropractic office, a subluxated person is an emergency, right? And so when they come into our office, they're a soul on board. We have to care for them. If the airline can use that term, we can too. It's not just I saw 80 patients today, I have 80 souls on board, and I got to care for them. And they're coming to us with all the things that they have baggage from and all the things ahead for them on their journey, right? So our duty, our calling is to give them the best attention that we can, and guide them in their life and help them get to where they're going and care for them with the same way, right? So their life is in our hands, just like, our lives in our hand when we get on an airplane. So I think of the same thing when I do Mile High, right? So everybody who registers, I think of them as a soul on board. Not just them, but also the speakers and the exhibitors. They're all souls on board in this ship that I'm captaining, right? And I want to make sure they all have the best experience possible, from an attendee to a speaker to an exhibitor. And you want everybody, a friend of mine I heard this from, said this phrase, which was, he said, you want to make sure that that everyone attending your event leaves wealthier, right? So I want every person that's attending the program, that's paying money to be there and registering as a soul on board for Mile High, just like a person who's a soul on board in your office, every single one of those people that's attending should leave wealthier. They should leave realizing that that little amount that I spent on a ticket, I got so much more out of that program, right? Same thing for your office. They should leave like, wow, I got so much more than what I paid for that spinal adjustment or the care. They should have that feeling. A speaker should be like, I'm leaving enriched. A vendor should feel that way. And that's really like our new motto for our office and for Mile High. Like, these people are all part of what we have to take care of. So then selecting speakers, same thing. Like, if I'm selecting a speaker for an event, I want to make sure that the people that are speaking, our attendees, our souls on board, are going to leave wealthier.
I love that saying, and I'm actually going to incorporate that with my staff as well, because here's the thing. If you extrapolate that out from the speaker to the attendees and the vendors, to the people that they touch Monday morning when they go back into their practice,
right,
and to the people that their patients touch in their life,
right,
we really have the ability to absolutely achieve the big idea,
right?
To touch every man, woman, and child with chiropractic. But it only happens if we're all vibrating at such a higher level, and we have to stay dipped. I always talk about staying dipped. We get into the real world, and the real world tries to beat you down with the drug ads and the patients complaining of symptoms and neck pain and back pain and talking about things that we don't want to talk about. We go to these seminars to stay dipped in the philosophy of chiropractic, to stay passionate about what we do, to be around like-minded individuals that remain up and keep us lifted up and keep us vibrating at a higher level. So when we get back to our offices, we can serve at that higher level without having the dirt of the world get all over us, right? So I love that saying.
Yeah, and like when you think you got 5 new patients today, it's like 5 new people, there's 5 new souls that you want to get on board with chiropractic, right? And you, if you have that, you have a different, caring that will come out. And also your team, right? Your patients are not the only souls on board. Your team is there. They're putting their life energy into serving chiropractic, and you got to care for them, right? And so like our team at Mile High, like all the people helping behind the scenes, I've got to care for them too, right? So it just lifts that up significantly when you consider that there's life energy there that you want to make sure you're caring for.
So true. So true. Now, I want to talk a little bit about what you're doing to help the up-and-coming speakers get their voices heard. because I think it's pretty neat. So you have almost like a competition out there where people can submit their auditions to you. So let's talk a little bit about that, because that's unique. I love that.
You know, we did that last year, and I was a little nervous about doing it, to tell you the truth. It was the first year we did that. I was like, are people going to like this? Are they going to not like it? Is they going to see, oh, look, do they not have people to speak or something? You know, that they've got to ask
Danny's
people
desperate. He
audition,
can't find anybody,
you know,
right?
or something,
Yeah.
or something like that. Like, and I said, well, you know, I'll just do it, because something was telling me that this would be a cool thing if we had one doctor and one student speak. So after we filled all our slots, I left 2 spaces available, one doctor and one student, and put out a competition that people can send a video of themselves speaking. It could be them talking to a computer, it could be them on YouTube, it could be a talk in their office, whatever it was. We got so many audios and videos, it was outrageous. I also tell them, put like a paragraph about your why, like why you want to do this, right? So just a paragraph in some video of you somewhere. We got so many students and so many doctors. It was really hard to pick, and so I'm glad I didn't pick, because what we did was I submitted it. We have a crew of people that are really, I call them the Mile High Marshals. In the Old West, right, there was the marshal was like the person, that was caring for the land. So I like tell them, like, look, you guys are not my board of directors, you're my marshals, to make sure I, slip in check and I stay focused on what I'm supposed to do, and I'm going to run things by you, and you guys are going to help out. So I said, you guys are going to select the speakers. So I sent like all the audios and videos to them, and I voted as well, and everybody voted, and we scored them, and then that's who we picked. So I kind of let up control over who was going to speak in terms of that. And so we got a student who just rocked it, for Francisco Torelli from Life University. He was phenomenal. It was so much fun. It was the first time we had a student speak. And then number 2, we had Rhea Komaric. And we had, again, so many doctors submitted speak, and they both these people had a completely different energy, completely different vibe. And one of the things that I really look for in a speaker is, are they authentic, right? I want to feel authentic when they present. And these people were just, they oozed authenticity, and they were just grateful for the opportunity. It was amazing. And I think this year we may do 4 people instead of 2. I haven't decided that yet, but it just went over so well. We might do 2 students and 2 doctors.
So you answered my question, because I was going to ask if you're doing the same amount or more for this year, and there you have it. You're doing double the numbers. So if you are an aspiring speaker out there who's watching this and wondering what it's going to take for you to step up and start finding your voice and creating those opportunities, here it is, right here. Dr. Danny Knowles with Mile High, they are giving you that opportunity to enter by submitting your own video and a little bit about your why, so that you have that opportunity to get your voice heard and maybe actually get on that stage. I love that you're doing that. That's fantastic.
It was like one of the highlights, and I gotta tell you, the videos we got, it was hard to choose, honestly. There were just, people were so excited for the opportunity, so that was cool.
So awesome. So I'm going to suggest or ask or assume, maybe it's already been done, that you share some of those videos for the Mile High podcast for some of the people that would love to hear, the ones who didn't actually make it to the big stage, but who submitted it.
Idea.
Yeah, because I think people need to, if I was a student, I would want to hear another student who is aspiring, so that I could look at them and learn from them. Because if I look at a Tony Robbins or I look at an Oprah Winfrey, there's such a jump between where I am and where they are that I would think I'm never going to make it.
Right.
But if I was a student and I saw someone who was a little bit ahead of me, that would give me something to shoot for.
That's a
and
great
then
idea.
I see a young doc. So I think you should absolutely start sharing those with everybody.
Yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll ask people permission. Do they want it shared?
Yeah, definitely. And of course, if you and I, we're doing double duty today, because not only is this video that you're watching going out to the Women's Speakers Club on Facebook, it's going on both my personal page and I know Dr. Danny Knowles' personal page, but it's also going to go out to the Mile High crowd.
Yes.
And one of the things that I can say is that the people who go to Mile High are people that are serving on high levels, so vibrating on a high level. And I'm not just talking about being Mile High. I'm talking about they are serving at a big level in chiropractic. They get the big idea. And I love what you guys stand for. I love what you and Rochelle have been building out there. And I think that you've every year gotten better, and every year you've managed to bring in some of the most influential voices to make sure that the doctors and the students that are attending Mile High, like you said, leave enriched.
Yes.
And I commend you for that, because you're really helping to change the future of chiropractic in a positive way.
Well, thank you for saying that. I really appreciate that. And when I thought of doing this, it wasn't like I was sitting around doing nothing. We had like a really busy practice and 2 little kids and already working, serving Sherman, and Rochelle was already on a state board. And we had the idea to do this. We're like, are we crazy? We already are doing so much, but it was like we wanted to make sure it was not like doing a seminar, like you could do that, but it was actually a movement and a force for good in chiropractic. So, my big thing is that it continues to be that and takes on that life of its own as a force for good. And, we maybe birthed it, but I want it to continue to grow, that it's a movement with not only the doctors out here, but worldwide. So.
Well, thank you. Tell everybody the date of next year's event.
Yes, so next Mile High, so it's Mile High 6, August 16th to 19th. We do the 3rd weekend in August. And there's a reason for that. Let me tell you that. Like, one, you got to look at, there's a whole calendar of things you can know when they are in chiropractic. But I also looked at, because there's lots of places you go for programs. Nothing is like Colorado. All right, Colorado is freaking awesome. And I can also now say it's the highest program in chiropractic, right? So that's like a good thing to say. And so, but what happens is, I looked like, when people are like, why don't you do this in the winter so I can go skiing, right? Or something like that. What I said was, I want to look, when is it least expensive, least costly to fly to Colorado? And I did some searching, and August was apparently the lowest cost time to fly in Colorado. So I said, well, that's brilliant. That makes it more cost effective for people. And besides, if people like Colorado in the winter and they're used to going for skiing and they never see it any other time, they're going to love it in the summer. It's like the secret that the locals know, that it's even better to go to the mountain resorts and stuff when it's the summer and like make a vacation out of it. So it's like, this shouldn't just be like you go to a seminar flying out and don't see anything besides the hotel. Do not do that. You're gypping yourself. Plan in August to spend at least an extra day, go to Rocky Mountain National Park, go to some sites and make a trip out of it. And I'll tell you, you'll even do better for your team if, when you fly out August 16th to 19th, if you fly out and you take them, right, and you do something with them and they get some time with you, not in a seminar and not in an office, but doing something like going for a hike, right, or seeing some scenery, and that will, help them feel enriched and really appreciated. So like I tell people, like, make this like a pilgrimage. Make it like you're going out to raise up your vibrational state, and raise up your team, increase your knowledge, and have a great time while doing it.
Fantastic. Now, we're going to have a link to Mile High on the Book My Next Event website. But Danny, go ahead and tell us the website for those that are listening real quick.
Yes, it's a really difficult website to remember. It's Mile High Chiro, CHIRO.org, www.milehighchiro.org. And I'll tell you, there was a reason, I was trying to come up with the name. I wanted a simple, easy name for people to remember. And I knew it was like, do we do this philosophy week? I had all these, complex like terms. And then I realized one of my impetuses to do it was there was a big push for scope expansion in Colorado. And I was really fired up about it because I did not want that to happen. And Mile High was instrumental in stopping that from happening, so to say the least. We literally, the people that went to Mile High are responsible for that not happening in the state of Colorado when that got voted on. So I'm very grateful for that. But I was like, Colorado, drugs had just become legal. People would go to Colorado as like, to get high. College population soared when marijuana became legal. It was like around the same year we did Mile High. And here we have chiropractors that want to prescribe drugs. I'm like, are they high? And that was why I was like, okay, there we go. I'll just do a play on words. And, there you go.
I love it. And it's a catchy name nonetheless, because
Right.
everybody, you can't forget the name Mile High. So I love it. It's you and Rochelle are doing a great job. I want to thank you so much for all that you do. Listen, if you're a lady out there, if you're a woman in chiropractic and you're trying to figure out how to get your voice heard and you want to learn how to step up, you want to be surrounded by a team of women that have your back, then I urge you to go join us in the Women's Speakers Club. That's a Facebook group only for women. And then, of course, we've got the Women's Speakers Directory, which is bookmynextspeaker.com. If you'd like to find out more information about Mile High, it's at milehighchiro.org. And it's also on Book My Next Event. So all the details are there. Getting yourself entered into the speaking competition so that you could potentially earn a spot at Mile High. It's on the Mile High website. You can't miss that. So for those of you watching us today on the Women's Speakers Club, I want to say thank you so much. And for those of you listening to us on the Mile High podcast, I want to say thank you, Dr. Danny, for letting me kind of help run the show with you today and get to turn the mic around and actually interview you on your own podcast.
Yeah, isn't that fun?
Isn't that fun? Love how life works out these times. So thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Danny.
I want to say one more thing. Do we have a second? One more thing.
Absolutely.
I want to make sure to thank the League of Chiropractic Women because at this event, and I was not prepared for this, I didn't know it, Kim Stetzel gave myself and Rochelle an award. And so from the LCW. So I want to thank you for giving us that award. It was totally unnecessary. She also gave me this big bag of chocolate. That was totally necessary. And I totally appreciate that too.
Well, I want to say on behalf of the board of the League of Chiropractic Women, much gratitude, much appreciation. You are very, very welcome for the chocolates and the award. And thank you for always making a space for us and giving us the opportunity to expose more of the women, students and docs, to the League of Chiropractic Women. So thanks for all you do.
Thank you very much. Have a great day. Keep changing spines and lives and minds with chiropractic.
Absolutely. You too. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time.
All right. Like our page on Facebook, www.facebook.com/Mile High Chiro.